Some of the latest pictures in Russia's ongoing war on Ukraine. Intense fighting over the weekend in the Donbas region. Russian forces continue to shell large swaths of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, and street-to-street battles rage in Severodonetsk. We're going to bring you the latest on the fight for control of that strategic city in just a moment, but want to begin this morning with details from Amnesty International, a new report accusing Russia of committing war crimes in Kharkiv, that hundreds of civilians, according to this report, have been killed in that city since the war began, now 110 days ago. Salima Shivji is in London. She has the detail on the Amnesty International allegations. Salima, good morning.
Good morning, Heather. Well, yes, as you mentioned, the report does very much focus on Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, still in Ukrainian hands. But of course, it was the focus of very intense, relentless bombing over the first 2-3 months of the war, what Amnesty International calls Russia's wholesale destruction of Kharkiv. So it has released this report. The report is accompanied by a video, and the video shows what Amnesty calls this destruction. Evidence, it says, that they collected while investigated more than 40 strikes in the city in April and May. Amnesty documented and says that it found fragments of 7 cluster bomb strikes in different neighborhoods of Kharkiv, and evidence as well, it says, of the use of scatterable landmines. One strike, Amnesty says, actually seemingly hit a group of people lined up for humanitarian aid in Kharkiv. They spoke with witnesses who described the aftermath of that strike and of others. Now, Amnesty says that the repeated attacks in heavily populated areas do constitute war crimes. Here is a pastor describing his church and how it was the focus of 2 cluster bomb attacks. Take a listen.
Когда произошел взрыв, здесь немножко в округе, это кассетные бомбы, они здесь разлетались кругом на большом расстоянии, и было поражение очень многих домов. Вот это очень маленькие осколки. Очень маленькие. Есть гораздо большие осколки. Вот этот маленький, он вроде бы маленький, но пронизывает насквозь. Стену проходит и пробивает, и еще поражает какую-то живую душу, то, что находится.
So that's some of what Amnesty International says was left behind in Kharkiv. You know, these type of munitions, cluster bombs as well as scatterable landmines, are both banned under international conventions, basically because they do scatter indiscriminately, especially, of course, when landing in heavily populated areas. Cluster bombs contain little droplets that just seemingly scatter all over the place. Even though Russia and Ukraine, neither of them have actually signed on to those international treaties that promise a banning of these type of munitions, Amnesty is calling for the Russian forces that it says are behind these type of attacks to be held accountable for what Amnesty says, attacks that really show an utter disregard for civilian lives.
Russia has been focused so heavily on Severodonetsk of late. Salima, what is the latest on the ground there?
Honestly, the intensity of the fighting is not abating for Severodonetsk. Ukrainian forces have been pushed out of the center of the city. That has been confirmed by local officials. Just such heavy artillery fire from the Russians. So Ukraine's control of the city seems to be weakening with every day that passes. Severodonetsk, according to Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, is a scene of such intense fighting that troops are fighting literally for every meter, he says. And that claim really backed up by local officials as well. The regional governor says it's not even about fighting for a street or a street corner. The fight for one apartment building can last several days. Now, the bridges leading into the city, many of them have been destroyed, and it looks like there's only one left, according to that governor. The last crossing over the river is still working, but it is heavily destroyed and damaged, so it can't handle any trucks going in and out. So there's very much a risk of the whole city being cut off, and there are hundreds of civilians still holed up in a chemical plant that is still in Ukrainian hands. Up to 800 civilians, local officials estimate. So they are bracing for more intense attacks as the Russian troops really do seem to be focusing on trying to capture this key strategic city. If Severodonetsk falls and its sister city Lysychansk as well, those are the last footholds that are in Ukrainian hands, and so that would leave full control over the Luhansk region, the province, in Russian hands, and it would give them the opportunity to gather full control of Donetsk. Really much a key focus in the Russian goal of occupying, all of the Donbas region and creating a land corridor to occupied Crimea. So intense fighting not stopping at all in the area.
Thank you, Salima. Salima Shivji from London this morning. Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly has condemned Global Affairs Canada's decision to send an official to a Russia Day party at the country's embassy in Ottawa. Joly calls the situation unacceptable, saying no Canadian representative should have attended the event hosted at the Russian embassy, and no Canadian representative will attend this kind of event again. Joly reaffirmed Canada's commitment to supporting Ukraine in its war against Russia. It was the Globe and Mail that first reported a Global Affairs Canada deputy protocol chief had attended Friday's event. The department says the decision was its decision alone, and Russian officials will not be invited to Canada Day events. The Russian embassy has also responded, thanking the official for attending on Friday.